Welcome back everyone. So today you join me in New Haven, and up there, you can't really see it, but up there or behind those cliffs is New Haven Fort, which is a heavily fortified First World War, I believe, artillery base that was built to defend these shores and these islands from the enemy coming from across there, across the English Channel. And out in those waters that you can see right now is an array of ships, U-boats, battleships, all sorts of German and British naval wrecks from the First and the Second World War, I believe, all battered away by the guns behind those cliffs. Amazing what we can stop when we want to, right? So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we've got three things to talk about today. Firstly, you know, Peter Blexley, if you know, he's the ex-detective, the former Met Police Scotland Yard detective. He's always on Talk TV, GB News. Did a magnificent interview on the New Culture Forum. If you haven't seen that video, I'd highly recommend that you go and have a look. I'll leave a link in the video description below. Peter's absolutely brilliant. You know, glad to say he's a friend of mine. Met him on a couple of occasions and we've spoken a lot. He's a real good guy, Peter, knows his stuff. And it was Peter that once said to me that I'd have made a good cop. And the reason I brought that up is because yesterday someone asked me the same question: would I have liked to have been a police officer, and would I have been a good one? And I was kind of thinking about it. I was laying in bed last night thinking about it. And the answer is, I don't think I would have, to be honest. I don't think I would have made a very good police officer. And I'll tell you why. First of all, one of my biggest faults probably in life is that I always try and see the best in people. I don't actually initially look for the worst. I always try and look for, you know, the best part of any person. And that's probably not a good trait if you're going to be a good police officer. But the main reason that I wouldn't have made a good cop, the main reason that I believe, is because I am a man of principle, and my principles would always have outweighed my orders. If I was ordered to do something that I didn't think was right, I couldn't do it. And it doesn't matter how much you paid me. You know, you could pay me £250,000 a year to put a uniform on. And if my superiors told me to go and arrest someone that I didn't believe needed arresting, or it wasn't fair, or it wasn't right, or it wasn't morally correct, I couldn't do it. You know, I guess for that sort of money you might be able to do it once or twice, but ultimately your conscience is going to get the better of you. Your moral fabric is going to get the better of you, and you're going to end up falling out of your superiors and getting the sack or walking away. So, you know, I've seen plenty of things going on recently from the police, and I'm not attacking the police. You know, they got a difficult job. It's a tough job, right? Let's be honest. It's a tough job. It's not one that I want to do particularly. Especially under the current leadership and the orders that they're being given. So I'm not knocking the individual police officers' boots on the ground. They got a living to earn and a mortgage to pay. It's, you know, their own choice. You know, I know there's a lot of police officers out there that won't be happy with the job that they're having to do. And I suppose it's up to each and every one of them to decide, you know, if they can do it. Does their paycheck outweigh their moral compass? And I suppose needs must in a lot of cases. That's why I think morale in the police force is probably quite low, because a lot of them are having to do things that they don't believe in or don't want to do. And that's unfortunate, really, to be fair. So the answer is no. I don't think I would have made a very good police officer. That's that one out of the way. Second thing I want to speak to you today, guys, about is women and children. But before I do that, let me just say that I know a lot of you have been missing the live streams. They're going to be back soon. But women and children, talking of family, women and children. You know, if you're an old school guy like myself, it's kind of inbuilt into our psyche. I spoke about this yesterday, about fair play being inbuilt into our psyche. But our natural instinct to protect women and children has been a part of the problem in recent weeks, hasn't it? You know, we've seen attacks on women on trains rise by, what was it, 50%? I mean, wow, that's frightening. We've seen kids being attacked, murdered. You know, a lot of men's instinct is to stand up and protect and make a noise and show their anger, frustration. Obviously, some people have been doing that and going about it the wrong way. The government needs to understand, people need to understand that, you know, a lot of men are very, very worried about their wives, daughters, sisters, mothers. And a lot of people that I speak to right now, a lot of people, you know, they're telling me that their daughters, they're not allowing them out to certain places, they're restricting their movement. You know, women are saying they're not going to be getting on trains. They don't feel safe walking about the streets. No longer feel that they can go out on their own. Certainly, none of my family members that are women will now go into London on their own. That's definitely 100% no-go. So London for them is now a no-go zone, no-go area, which is shocking, really, isn't it? I mean, it's really shocking to see that, you know, a lot of women are now just saying, well, I can't go there, I'm not going to travel there, it's not safe anymore. And no wonder the men aren't very happy, to be fair. You know, we all have worries and concerns. I know there are a number of mums that are refusing to send their kids back to school when the new term comes around. They don't think it's safe to send their children back to school. Terrible, terrible situation to be in. There, of course, they're going to have to battle with the authorities, because the authorities are going to say, no, you've got to send your kids to school. And I think their answer is going to be, well, no, you've got to be able to guarantee the safety of our children. And at the moment, I think we're a long way from that. A very long way from that. I think there's a lot of mums and dads, nans and granddads up and down the country right now that are very, very fearful about the kids going back to school. And you know, the apparent lack of safety around the country right now. And who can blame them? There's nothing more precious in our lives than our kids, right? I mean, is it now time where schools need full-time security staff? I think that time has probably come. In fact, I'm sure it has. I'm sure that time has now come. But look, I know things that, you know, attacks and that are rare and they're unlikely, but just one is an absolute disaster. And I do believe the time has now come where our schools do need full-time security guards. I do think that the time has now come where on the train system, on the railway networks, we need female-only carriages. I do think that time has now arrived. We have to accept that there are a lot of issues and a lot of dangers that we never used to face. It's no good ignoring them, we have to deal with them. And whether this government likes it or not, safety is a big concern right now. Only yesterday, a woman was stabbed to death in Crawley, which is not far from Brighton. It's about half an hour's drive. I think she was in her 20s. That's all we know at the moment, don't know anything else. It was early in the morning as well, I think. Whether it was a domestic or whatever, I don't know. But again, you know, a murder, early in the morning in Crawley. It's just shocking, and it barely even makes the news now. I mean, it did make the news, that's how I know about it, but it's not front page headlines, it's just another murder. And I think one of the shocking things is the normality of it, is the fact that, oh well, it's just another knife crime murder. There'll be another one along any time soon. We got the New Haven to Dieppe ferry making its way in a minute. I'll try and show you before I go. It's actually a nice little trip. Takes about 4 hours to get from New Haven to Dieppe. Not a bad little place, Dieppe. So the last thing that I was going to talk to you about today is trust. Trust with the police, which I think at the moment is probably nationwide at an all-time low. Has the public's trust and respect for the police ever been at a lower point? Because of the actions of certain police forces, or services as they are now, in recent weeks, probably what was already at an all-time low, trust and respect for the police, I think the perceived two-tier way in which they've been treating people and being handed down orders that they've been quite willing to carry out, even though I think many of them believe them to be unfair or wrong, that already all-time low confidence has probably dropped even lower. I've always had a huge respect for the police at a distance. Up until about 2011, I'd never ever come across the police in my life other than to ask them directions or the time of day. But after I was that victim of the first robbery that I experienced as a watch dealer, I very quickly learned and found out that the police are, in many occasions, a long way from being what you think they are. I.e. there to protect you, there to look after the good guys and chase after the bad guys. You quickly find out that that's not the way they operate. What they tend to do is chase after anyone that's easy to chase. And it doesn't really matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy. If you're low-hanging fruit, they'll grab you. Yeah, for me, a healthy respect with a degree of suspicion has always been there for the police. But in recent weeks, that's sort of, well, even that's gone now, I'm afraid. I don't think that, I've always said that if I saw a police officer in trouble, I would be the first one to jump in and, you know, try and help them, make sure that they're okay. I've got to be honest with you, right now, I just walk away. Because that's just the way I feel about them right now. I just let them get on with it. Obviously, I don't want to see any of them get hurt. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. But when I look at how they've ignored our people when they've needed help, when I look at how they've been treating people recently, you know, I don't think they deserve the public support. That's just my personal opinion, and I think at the moment, at least, that's still legal to have. I don't think you can be arrested for that just yet. And I think it's time that a lot of police officers, you know, made their personal thoughts and views known within the job. You know, if they're unhappy with some of the things they're being told to do, I'm not saying don't do them, but, you know, I don't think there's anything stopping you from saying, I'm not very happy about that. You know, go and see your seniors, go and see your bosses and say, really? Is that really what policing's all about now? Like I said, maybe I wouldn't have made a very good cop. Right, let's have a look, see if we can see that the Epsom New Haven ferry coming in. It's a big one. I'll give you a look at that before we go. Here she comes. As I said, I think it's about 4 hours from New Haven to the Ep. That's a big old boat. I wouldn't like to have to try and row it. Right guys, that's it for now. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget, I will be doing the live streams again very soon. I'll speak to you later.